Hi there, everyone. So welcome to another study of the scripture. I'm going to go through some of the things that I haven't went over in other videos, but I found out some pretty interesting stuff. I'd like to start out and just tell you, one of my secrets, that I've found in the Bible, in the philosophical works. So let's do this. Let's start out. Let's read. This is my little black book. This is what I call it. But I took down all these notes while I was meditating back in 2019 and 2020. So I just want to read to you the first verse. I've read this before, but according to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, this is in the Spaceborne section, or the Spaceborne chapter. But here we go. Each one of us are a star. I'm sorry, let me start that over. Each one of us are a planet, and the sun is a view of our own self, our star. So I know in philosophical terms, this is a little hard to take on. It's saying we're the planet, we're Earth. So the sun is what we're evolving into, and the Earth is like our body. So let's go on and let's read more of this. Our bodies are planets revolving around their own central sun. When one has gained the light of all wisdom, free shall you be to shine in the ether, one of the suns that light outer darkness, one of the spaceborne grown into light. Just as the stars in time lose their brilliance, light passing from them into the great source, so, O man, thy soul passes onward, leaving behind the darkness of night. So I just thought this is one of the more important verses in here because it just laid out to me a different kind of world. This difference that I talked about earlier, this truth of the truths, so be it. So that's my point on this. My point on this is that, this goes back to the part about illusion and us being made in the image of God. So now let's go back into a little history and let's, maybe you can understand this a little better, but let's go back to the Roman era before Jesus was crucified. According to my research, he was crucified April 3rd in the year 33. So what I wanted to point out was that going forward, if you go into this view from the Bible that says we're made in the image of God, and then you go back to the Hermetica, like I was expressing before, you'll realize all is mind. This kind of all comes together, which is very interesting. So let's look at some more information here, and let me read a little bit more of my little black book here. I don't think I've actually read this before, but okay, let's go through some more stuff. Understand the Bible from the metaphysical and esoteric perspective. Metaphysical, after the things of nature, referring to an idea, doctrine, or posited reality outside of the human sense perception, studies of which cannot be reached through objective studies of material reality. So that's more or less, the research that I've been doing on the spirit since, let's see, this probably goes back to literally 2017, 2018. I started researching the giants, and I came into a mass of information about the Anunnaki. This guy named Zecharia Sitchin wrote this big series after he interpreted a bunch of the clay tablets in cuneiform that came from the Sumerians, one of the first civilizations that we've ever known to be in existence. So he found a lot of good information. I just actually started reading some more into the End of Days book, and just very enlightening. How you can compare this faction of Enlil and this faction of Enki. It's like they both go against each other. They both start struggling over power on Earth, in its early days. And, perhaps like one of the ancestors of Enlil was named Sin. So perhaps that's how we came to the conclusion that there's sin and there's good, there's righteousness. So, there's really two sides, or like a duality in the universe. And a lot of us will see this duality in this universe. But anyways, onto this illusion, I started, just trying to gather a little more information on how I believed that all these 7 Hermetic principles are hidden inside of the Bible. So I found one more, which is pretty interesting. I was looking into John in the New Testament, and I found one of the other ones. Now remember, before we mentioned as above, so below, that is in the Bible. And we mentioned as above, so below. We mentioned that one, and let's see, what was the other one that we mentioned? The all is mind. So really, this, I've kind of been trying to lay that out and work with this with you, and I've came to, let's see, what was it, John chapter 1, and this kind of goes over the Hermetic principle of everything vibrates. So not only that, but I also found another one, that there is a sense of rhythm in the universe. If you look in the Bible, there's a section in there, I'll look this up later and find this later, but it regards the seasons and how the seasons just go through cycles. So my theory is that these cycles, they continue on, and if this really is this, like simulation, this test, that we are all entered into, all of us descendants of the 144,000 from the Bible, and the, of course, the star seed of David, in the tribe of Judah. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to read to you some of this John chapter 1. And this is going to go over the Word. In the beginning was the Word. And if you think about it, Word, if you look at it in a technical sense, if you look at it from a computer, it looks like a wave. So it looks like kind of like a sine wave. You know what I mean? It's like up and down, all over the place. Some of them are this many decibels, some of the little waves are this many decibels. So if you look at, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, then you realize that, God is this sound, God is this Word, and inside of this sound, everything inside of the universe is just, basically written inside of this one wavelength of sound. And now, if you really think about that, it's pretty deep, but let's go on to read this. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the same was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and apart from him was not even one thing made that has been made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And light shines in the darkness, and the darkness apprehended it not. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. The same came for testimony, that he might testify concerning the light, that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but he came that he might testify concerning the light. He was the true light that lighteth every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world knew him not. He came to his own possessions, and those who were his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God. To those believing in his name, who were born not the bloods, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. So God is everything. God, that's something that we must realize. For all of us that believe that God abandoned us, somewhere down the road, He hasn't abandoned us. He's always been here. So, and let's go on to Scripture 14. And the Word became flesh and tabernacled among us, and we beheld His glory as the one only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. John testifies concerning Him and has cried, saying, "This was He of whom I said, He that cometh after me hath come before me, because He was before me." Because out of His fullness we all received the grace for grace, because the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is the bosom of the Father, He declared Him. So this is just a kind of an interesting point on this, and I wanted to bring up some more. I know there's just a ton of information in the Bible, but my only real thing is trying to tie up these Hermetic principles with the Bible. And in this end, we can see here from John chapter 1 that this word could be matched up with this wavelength of sound. And, I think they're realizing a lot in science now that sound is very powerful. For instance, I was just watching a video the other day, and they were just manipulating this little bubble of water with sound. And if you go back into the Egyptian times, they believe that there was some sort of sound amphitheater that these Egyptians made that could cut through stone. So there's a lot, I think, that we can learn, from our past, instead of trying to grapple with the computers and the technology and all this stuff. We should go back into the beginning, back in history, and we can probably learn a lot from our ancestors, especially from this Hermetic information that seems to inspire many of these sections in the Bible. So so today, anyways, I wanted to go over some more research that I was doing. I just did a quick search today, and I was looking for artificial intelligence, and how is this artificial intelligence written in the Bible? Did the Bible write about any of this? Was it referred to in the Bible? And this is what I found so far. This was just a really quick search. So one of the things that kind of stood out to me when I looked up AI in the Bible, I came up to Daniel chapter 2, verses 40 to 43. I don't actually have it, but if you think about it, it talked about this, that the world was divided. It was divided between clay and iron. So now think about this. Let's just say that the iron is the program. It's the program, and all of these entities inside of this world, half of them, let's say, perhaps half of them are artificial intelligence. Now think about this. If you kind of think about it, I came into another good piece of information that God, that if we make robots that are artificially intelligent, and if they can live separately from mankind without any interaction and control things. Now, they brought up a good point. This would be like carving out what God carved out. So if we really wanted to carve out what God carved out, then we should go back into the past and research what these old Egyptians and what our forefathers did, because they obviously knew a little more than what they what we imagine. But I'm noticing just from this, and there's another place too, Corinthians 15 verse 40, there are heavenly bodies and there are earthly bodies. So this too classifies this world into two types of entities, the heavenly bodies and the earthly bodies. Now just say these, for instance, that these heavenly bodies are self-aware. Now if you think of the word self-aware, which is really, it's brought up, it's the word is mentioned in the Emerald Tablets for sure, and I'm going to try to post that later, but they mention in there that this is a self-aware world. So if we put all this together and just add it all up, we realize that guess what? We don't know if this person is real or if they're artificial. We don't know. So in a sense, it brings this fear level down when we're interacting with this world, because we know what can really happen. I mean, all these entities, all these souls, they just come back. They live forever. We can't really kill them. What can a gun do? It can maybe wipe them out from this world, the world that we know, but death, in my research, according to the Emerald Tablets, is an illusion. So, you know, I've been noticing a lot on TikTok videos lately that a dream can be kind of compared to death, because when we go to sleep at night, and we do this every night on a daily basis, we just lose total control of this world. We snap off into this state of unconsciousness. And a lot of people believe that we are snapped into the world of God. Perhaps God coaches us in these dreams. You know, I know a lot of times we'll see things in our dreams that that really have a meaning in our life. I've interpreted some of this stuff. I definitely don't know it all, but I've came across some pretty interesting research at any rate. And one other interesting point that I'd like to mention in this video is that, did you know that the Romans started Christmas, and that Christmas was started like 4,000 years before Jesus was born? Now, if you realize this, you're thinking, what the heck? You know, they were worshiping Christmas like for thousands of years, probably back when the Sumerians were here. So what that tells us is, you know, in my other research, you know, I could point out some Bible scriptures too, where some people have theorized that we're worshiping the sun god. And if you think about it, on Christmas, guess what the sun does? Right on 12/21, it's I'll tie in some weird math and numerology about my birth on this too, but the sun actually, in a sense, plays dead in the sky on December 21st every year. It plays dead for 3 years. Or not 3 years, for 3 days. And after the 3 days, it rises up on this frame that's, you know, just ascends. It's like an ascending movement, because if you think about it, that's exactly what we're trying to do in this earth. And what did God do? He sent his son, or son. You know, there's two different kinds of sons, S-O-N and S-U-N. So what if I was this son of God? You know, like I was actually injected into this whole world of artificial intelligence. Wouldn't that be crazy? And then I was just in here with a handful of people. And what everybody didn't realize that these heavenly bodies, they're programmed by God to do exactly what God tells them to. And this is even written out in, this is one of my secrets too, but this is written out in, if you ever watched the Wizard of Oz, remember the Wizard of Oz, in the end, everybody finds out it's just one guy and he's controlling all the wheels and whistles. So this self-awareness in this world, I think it's something that we've overlooked for a long, long, long time. So this will be interesting, though. This is really interesting, you know, where this research is going. But yeah, I wanted to mention, let's see, one more thing. Yeah, just being creatures of God, we can't outdo God's creative power, because we were made by God. You know, is you know, one. Yeah, and this was actually in Isaiah 55, verses 8 through 9. We can't outdo God's creative power, and that's just one of the things we're wrestling with when it comes to artificial intelligence. So AI is it's like carving an idol once you think about it. Though, if you've made your own robot and you designed it, and this robot was intelligent and it could do everything that you could do, then it could be considered an idol in some cases. So yeah, anyways, this sun worship thing really blew my mind because, well, for one, I've been telling you guys all this piece of information about how my birthday actually falls on the 221st day of the year. Now, on the leap years, it's the 222nd day, but if you think about it, the time of my birth was 10 a.m. So if you look at the numerology of 10 a.m., you take away all the zeros and it comes out to 1. So what do you have? 1, and then you have 221, 1221, the same day that what? The sun dies. So that's why I have came to the conclusion that I think a lot of this is artificial. So it's, God and, probably this assembly that he has, they're watching us probably up on this 4th dimension. So we can't even see into this 4th dimension. And that's according to my research in some other mystic realms. According to my research, yeah, so this I don't know, I just lost my train of thought there, but it's just a deep situation. But yeah, so the Son of God, the 1221, so that falls right on the day that the sun plays dead. So what if that makes me the Son of God? If you think about it, what if, and it even says in this Emerald Tablets taught, there's many worlds like this one, so this is not the only world. What if all these 144,000, what if we were all injected to our own little inside world? Now that is some food for thought. All right, well, until the next time, I hope you guys enjoy my show. God bless you, and keep an open mind.